This particular report by the OCC, a little alarming. They need to have their security airtight, cybersecurity, because they have so much information, the stuff that they are privy to. You gotta understand the banks are privy to so much confidential information. Love them or hate them, banks are the backbone of the American economy. Banks provide the lending that people and businesses need in order to keep the economy moving. Now, if you're old enough, the majority of us remember the banking crisis of 2008. And even recently, there was a liquidity issue with some small and mid-sized banks that happened a few years ago. I actually made some videos about it maybe a year and a half ago. Now, because banks are so instrumental and so important to the economy, they are always under a microscope. So there has been a recent report that's come out, not necessarily come out, it's more of a secret report by the OCC that basically says about half of the 22 largest banks are underperforming in some key areas. So in this video, we're going to discuss this report by the OCC, why it's important, what's really in the report. And before I get started, let me just say that if you like content like this, leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe for more content like this and hit that thumbs up button for me. In a recent confidential report by the OCC, it was found that about half of the 22 largest lenders are lacking when it comes to operational risks. Now, this is particularly alarming because we just went through the world's largest IT outage in history literally at the end of last week. And regulators, the government, they are alarmed about the bank's ability in order to prevent cyber attacks, their cyber security, how ready they are in some of these key areas. Now, in this particular report or this rating, it was based out of 5 points. And if you scored 3 or less, you were at risk, you were not up to par with what the government wanted you to do. Now, again, this was a confidential report, so we don't have the names of the lenders and we don't have exactly everything they were looking for. It could be some operational risks within the banks, you know, if things get reported and how they deal with it. But cybersecurity also a part of operations. And in all honesty, a lot of these big lenders, they do spend big time money on technology, on security. And some of the biggest banks literally spend billions of dollars every single year beefing up their technology because that is just the way that the world is going. But the government is basically saying that that is not enough. Now, banks are they are regularly looked at under a microscope. Everything from operations, their liquidity, the type of assets that they have, the loans that they have, all of this stuff is looked at under a microscope. And you got to understand that banks are privy to so much confidential information. Think about some of these large lenders, millions of customers. So if you're talking about businesses, you have business names, EIN numbers, addresses, if they've done loans with you, you have tax records on file. Same thing with people. If you're a customer, they have everything from your driver's license number, your address, all of this information. So it is even more important that their security is airtight compared to some other things because of all of the information that is stored within their servers, within their systems. Now, the Fed or the government, they regularly check on banks for not just their operational risks, but for many different things. It's the assets that they hold, their liquidity, so many different things. Every single year they go through a stress test. You might see it when it comes out, you know, all these lenders pass the stress and all that type of stuff. This is going to continue to happen because of what happened in 08. This has to, you know, so because big banks, they can't fail. It's too much involvement with the economy, too much involvement with businesses and people. They cannot fail. But if they do not meet certain standards that are put forth by the government, by the Fed, the consequences can include you could lose your deposit insurance premiums can go up. Different audits that you're going to have, it can bar them from making deals and buying other banks. They can even be denied emergency liquidity from the Federal Reserve. Now, this specific test about operations doesn't necessarily bar them from all of that, but there are various different tests. Like I said, their liquidity, the assets, how valuable it is, and the consequences can be dire. A big way that banks or lenders grow is by buying up other lenders, merging and growing, and that's how you end up seeing, these $500 billion banks or $1 trillion banks. It is because they bought so many little lenders over time, and they grew. You could lose the ability to be able to do that. It's deposit insurance premium, how much you pay to keep your money. You're paying more because you do not meet certain requirements. So it is alarming. It could prohibit them from doing business the way they want to do it, or it could make doing business more expensive for them. But also for consumers, for everyday people like you and me, they need to have their security airtight, cyber secure, because they have so much information, the stuff that they are privy to. We expect them to keep things airtight, and this particular report by the OCC, a little alarming, something to think about. And big banks, I know they do spend a lot more. Smaller lenders, they can't necessarily spend as much money on technology because they don't have as much money to spend. So I know a lot of large time lenders, they are much more advanced in this stuff than your community lenders are. But 11 of the 22 largest, that is half of them, we're talking about the largest here, the government still wants to see them doing more. If you like content like this, leave a comment down below letting me know what you think. Make sure you subscribe for more content like this and hit that thumbs up button for me.